The Town of Woodbridge Board of Finance monthly meeting for Thursday, May 18th, 2023. And the first item on our agenda is public comments. Did we get any public comments?
No public comment.
No public comments. Okay. So then the second item on our agenda is to set the mill rate for FY 2024. Before we get into that, I'd like just a couple of comments, if you don't mind. First of all, we've heard in our budget deliberations, we've heard again and again and again about mill rate. Mill rate. Our mill rate is the fifth high. The mill rate, and again, you can't talk about the mill rate without talking about the budget and without talking about the grand list. For those of you who remember or don't remember, our last reval a few years ago, I don't know about the rest of you, my value went down. And my taxes didn't necessarily go down, but my value went down. And so we are now operating, our grand list that we're operating with is one of the lowest, is as low as it can get because it came in the midst of COVID. I am confident, extremely confident, that when reval takes place, what, in a couple of years, Tony, maybe?
October 1st, 2024.
Okay, even less than that.
Okay. That's the date.
Okay. I am extremely confident, and I will go out on a limb and say that our grand list is going to go up significantly. I could tell you my house what it was worth, or what it was valued at, and what it's worth now, based on going on Zillow or whatever. It's a couple $100,000 off from what it was back then. So there isn't a question in my mind that when we have a reval, provided there's no COVID or craziness that went on, our grand list will grow up significantly. And I'll go on on a limb again, and I will say this. I would predict that when this grand list comes out, the mill rate will go down to the mid-30s. I really believe that. And then maybe we won't have to hear about them again. It's all relative. If you did a reval this year, your grand list is going to be great. We're in the lowest grand list probably that we've ever had, and now we've got some development stuff going on with Toll Brothers and whatever. So I think when we do a reval, we're going to see a huge difference, and maybe that'll satisfy people. But again, you can't talk about the mill rate without all the other facts. So I just thought I'd say that. Before we set the mill rate, does anybody else have any other comments about the other night or anything they want to talk about? Okay, so Tony, then the numbers that were in our sheet here stay the same. We didn't change it. Okay.
Correct.
So with that, I will make a motion that we approve a budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 with expenditures of $56,278,395, non-tax revenues of $5,489,053, and the amount to be raised by taxes $50,789,342, which will result in a real estate and personal property mill rate of 45.08 and a motor vehicle mill rate of 32.46.
Was that a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, hearing none. Yes. Ellen?
Yes.
Donovan, yes. Susan, yes. Dwight, yes. Okay, good. That will be our budget. So they can put that through, and we can get ready to get our tax bills. So, all right. Again, I don't think any of us are thrilled with the 2.99% increase, but in light of all that's going on, and in light of our grand list growing so little, it's just necessary to maintain the services in this town. And again, I'm going back to Ed Sheehy, but like he said, if people wanted to cut services, they would be there. They're happy with the service level, and they're happy with the tax level. So I think it was a lot of work. The budget was a lot of work, but I think the results speak for themselves. All righty. Item 3, Administrative Officer, Director of Finance report. Tony.
Thank you, Matt. The estimated year-end surplus as we wind up the fiscal year, this is through April, $920,000. That would leave, as we have an allocation from fund balance of $400,000, That would leave a $500,000 addition to our fund balance, which brings it just over 15%, which is right at the high end of our range in our policy. So, but next year we've increased the allocation to 800,000, which should probably bring that down a little. So we'll be right in line with our fund balance policy. The success story here this year continues to be our interest earnings. We're just slightly under 5%, with a generated surplus of a little over $400,000. There's really a few places where the surplus is generated. That's one. Intergovernmental revenue is pretty flat. We've had a $183,000 surplus in our MRSA, which is our municipal revenue sharing account. We were anticipating a shortfall of a special education of 194,000, although I think that might be lower, so we may have additional funds in this particular account. I'll know better next month. Finance has a surplus of 15,000. That's mainly due to we were short staffed. Essentially, when Betsy left, we were short staffed, one person from August through February. So that's where a lot of that comes from. Building officials a surplus of 18,000. Waste management has a deficit of $30,000. That's a little. It's down the deficit from prior months. I'm hoping that our solid waste tip fee will be able to cover some of that deficit, because we're doing pretty well there. Human services has a surplus of about $20,000. That's mainly in part-time wages, which is difficult to predict when you have part-time personnel. The other big story here is $363,000 surplus from Amity, which we've discussed in the past. That comes from two sources. The first was our budget was a little higher because of the failed referendum in 2023. That's $134,000, and then we received a credit of $229,000 from the Amity's 2022 surplus. Finally, the Woodbridge Board of Education, the surplus about $80,000. That's from February, so there might be an updated figure on that.
I think it said 125 in my paperwork, Tony.
125. Okay. So that's the highlights of the year. So we're doing well.
Okay. Any questions for Tony? So again, yeah, the Woodbridge Board of Ed financial report showing $125,000 surplus. Anything else, Tony?
No, that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Tony? No. So next is funding requests. We have 4. All right. The first is a fund transfer request of $2,500 in the fire department.
Police.
I'm sorry, the police department, to cover data processing fees through the end of the year. So I will move it again as a line item transfer. I will move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-28 in the amount of $2,500.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Pretty cut and dry, I guess. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hands. I can see everybody. This is great. Good. Unanimous. Next is, again, line item transfer. I guess it's the cleanup public works. It's a line item transfers of $49,000 from highway salaries and road maintenance to maintenance, equipment parts, and vehicle parts. I will move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-29 in the amount of $49,000.
Second.
Anything in particular on this, Tony? It's just
We've seen it's not increased use so much as it is increased costs for this. We've seen. So we set the budget when it was lower, and then the prices went up.
Inflation,
Yeah.
what it is.
okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Next. Next is line item transfer. I guess within building maintenance. Line item transfer 2223-30 in the amount of 28,722. And it's a whole bunch of accounts we're taking it from to put into repair and maintenance building. And the purpose is needed large scale repairs to town buildings. See attached memo, and I'm sure we all read it. So I will move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-30 in the amount of 28,722.
Second.
Again, I guess if I just, maybe I'll just, some of the major things are new daycare main plumbing waistline, new police department circulating pump, repair leaking mini split air conditioner at the senior center, electrical repairs at the senior center. And again, it's all things that have to be done at the center. It's that Brad is outlining for us. So any questions?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good, okay. And finally is, this one got me nervous when I saw Stop the Bleed. What the heck is that? But I can appreciate it because I am on blood thinners and sometimes they're tough to stop. So I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-31 in the amount of $5,000.
Second.
I can give you a little background on this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go ahead.
So this came out of our, we have a committee that reviews dispatch. And as part of that committee, we have a consultant who's very knowledgeable about, emergency management. He's he's got a consulting firm that he was a fire chief, a volunteer fire chief, and he was a former dispatcher. So he's very knowledgeable. And so these kits contain, there's 8 kits in a bag, and each kit contains whatever you need to stop bleeding. If there's an injury or if there's a mass casualty incident, and mass casualty incidents, people bleed out is a big cause of fatalities. So each kit has tourniquets and clotting agents and bandages. And so we're going to put one in all of our buildings, and then we're going to get training on how to use them. And they last. There's no expiration date on most of the items in the kit, except for the clotting agent. I think is the one thing that's like a 2-year, has a 2-year shelf life on it. So
Probably an automatic renewal, right? They send it to you and bill you in 2 years.
so we
Tony,
thought it was very,
Yeah, I got a question. Is this also for the FD and the PD? So when they go on to a severe accident and there's traumatic injury and bleeding, are they
so the
part of
FD
this
and the
program, or do they have something?
No, the FD and the PD are much highly trained in this area, and B have a lot of this equipment already in their vehicles and in police. Yeah, so this is mainly for like staff members.
Okay,
who don't have a
I
lot
was
of
just
training.
curious.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All righty, next is approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. The first is from Thursday, April 20th, 2023. And I will move acceptance of the minutes of April 20th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, etc.? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. Next is it was our meeting to set the budget for the town meeting after the budget hearing. And I'll move acceptance of the minutes of our Monday, April 24th, 2023 meeting as presented.
Second.
second. Any corrections, adjustments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Abstentions?
Matt, I'll abstain.
Okay.
That was when I had COVID.
Okay, all right, so we got a 401. 401, okay. All righty. Tony, appointment of auditor.
So we would like to appoint RSM for their second year of a 4-year engagement to do our audit. Interesting. Matt, I don't know if you find this, but there's a real shortage of audit firms.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly ones that are auditing municipalities. There's really
Mhm.
basically 2, maybe 3, and you know, towns are going out for bid. They're getting maybe 1 response, no response. And the audit firms are having a terrible time getting personnel.
Yep, it's true.
So it's a big problem. So we have RSM, and we do they do a good job, and we prepare everything for them. So it's it's not a difficult audit for them.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want a motion to approve?
Yes,
RSM?
we
I
have
like
to by
that.
state.
And this would be for fiscal year 23.
23, right?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we appoint RSM as our auditor to audit the financial statements of year ended June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, good. All right, next we have a preliminary suspense list, which is presented to us by the tax collector. And again, Tony, why don't you just, I mean, I could do it.
Sure.
Why don't you just run through exactly what this is?
Certainly. So each year, the tax collector develops a suspense list. What basically does is removes these accounts as a receivable for the town. So in other words, it's no longer an asset to where we define it as a receivable that we're trying to collect. We still try to collect them, but it's not considered a receivable on our accounts. If that makes sense. So
And this is required by statute.
it's required by statute, right?
If I'm looking at this correctly, I think, is the total, is that the total 92?
Well, this is it's preliminary.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And we're not voting on this tonight, right?
No, correct. You're not voting.
Okay,
tonight.
this is just an FYI, but
Correct. Yeah.
you go through it and you see a friend of yours on here, call them up and say, pay up.
Right.
I noticed a few names I know. Well, a lot of times it's a dispute, there's no way of knowing. But again, if it's real estate, we put liens on the real estate.
Correct.
And they stay on despite the suspense list write-off or whatever. Real estate, we lien.
Really?
If it's motor vehicles, that's something else.
Well, motor vehicles, you can't register your car
Yeah, right.
if it's an
That's true.
existing one. If
That's
it's
true.
it's one that you like turned in or got rid of and you forgot to send in the paperwork. That's different, but
Right.
yeah. So it's really personal property is the one that's.
Yeah, right. Okay, so this is an FYI. If you look it over, eventually we'll be voting on them. Any questions on that? Okay. First Selectman's report. Beth.
Thank you, Matt. I just want to take a moment and thank everyone on the Board of Finance for all what you gave to me. I think working with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance together, we did a really good job this year. And I just want to thank you all for your hard work and all of the hours you all spent completing this budget. I just have two quick items. There's, just so you guys know, there's renewed interest in the Ad Hoc Sustainability Committee. It kind of faded where no one was really participating anymore a few years ago, and then we had COVID. But now I'm quite happy. I hope you'll remember that previously, when we attained the bronze level certification in October of 2018, it allowed us to get more grant dollars. And with renewed interest in its certification, we have potential for both state dollars and federal grant dollars to come to Woodbridge, as well as community matching funds. And Tom Kennefick and Hillary Drum have agreed to co-chair the committee, and the membership is in process. And lastly, in the interest of public health, I just remind everyone that the CDC recommends those over 65 and those who are immunocompromised receive a second bivalent COVID-19 booster. And the Human Services Department, in conjunction with Griffin Health and the Connecticut Department of Health, will provide another COVID-19 vaccine clinic on June 1st from 2 to 6 in the center gym. And there are no appointments necessary, and primary service series vaccines are also available for those from 6 months all the way up. And additionally, you don't need insurance to participate. And with that, Heller out. Thank you.
Okay. And I'd like to also thank everybody for their efforts getting this budget together. It was a tough year, but I think we had to cut stuff, but I think for the most part, services will not be affected in any adverse way. And again, I think people in this town expect good service, and they get it. I mean, wherever, if you ever have any reason to seek any of our services, they're all excellent. The people are all great, and I think people realize that, which is why they, with the exception of a few, think we're doing a good job. So again, thank you.
We have amazing staff,
We do.
employees. I mean, they just take care of it's amazing. They always go out of their way to help folks.
We do.
Yep,
Some
I
of
would
the
agree.
items
I
are
never-
amazing,
we-
and they just do it.
We never get, we get in other places. We never get, it's not my job. That's not my responsibility. I don't want to, with everyone pitches in, and they all do a great job.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you to everyone, and thank you particularly to all of those town employees who are on this call.
All right. Anybody have a report or any kind of liaison report they'd like to make?
No.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Two yeas. Okay, we'll see you, I guess our next meeting is in June, whatever it is. I'm gonna guess it's the 15th. I think it's June 15th, but check your calendar, third Thursday. And have a good Memorial Day, and
Stay safe.
stay safe, absolutely.
That's the big thing.